Well, today, Doug Ford, he's unaffordable. Why where he handled this pandemic, where he handled the pandemic, the COVID-19 day, lockdown, people were made homeless. People had no way of getting money to make their ends meet. Hundreds of people ended up in tents. Hundreds of people ended up on a street because they couldn't pay their rent. And then after the pandemic, and when that happened, he turned around and wanted to build Greenbelt. I want to build 45 million homes. Well, he built 45 million condos, miniums at 8 million a pop. And they said, well, we build a home. But unfortunately, where are the people going to fill those? Well, that's another big waste of money. Another huge waste of money that Doug Ford did was the $200 everybody get. That's great. Let's try to buy votes from people. Let's get into a buck and buy my vote. No way. He didn't buy my vote out of that. Matter of fact, if you want to put up with that kind of corruption in our government like that, and on top of this, he's been investigated by RCMP. On top of the RCMP, he's being investigated by our secret services investigating him, and they probably got a lot of stuff on it. I don't know because I wouldn't say don't say much to the public, but my way I'm thinking is why would Doug Ford call an election? Why? Because number one, they probably want to take a security certificate out on him. Number two, that in order to do this, they can't just walk into Toronto to the premier headquarters, pick them up and take them away like that. That would create too much media strategy. See? Well, so the only thing they can do is only thing that the Secret Service do to make that agent to bring him into custody is one, get Doug Ford to call an election. Number two is to make sure that he doesn't win this election, that another premier comes into a seat. Upon losing this election, the following day, they could come up to him, put the cuffs on him, take him away, and that will strengthen the other candidate who just won the premier seat, who Trent Bobby Comby up, Miss Comby good, Trenton Comby or Trent whoever won that premier seat will be really strong and undo Doug Ford damages and start putting things right again. Having a problem we can afford. We can't afford Doug Ford. He's unaffordable, and he's done. And I think, and what he's done is basically an act of treason. I think he needs to two things. One thing happened to him, he ain't gonna be. I don't think he's gonna win this election. I think he's gonna walk away a sore loser. I look at that. Just how he handled and the Belk and Greenbelt. Take away what happens. You know what's gonna happen if he started doing that? Well, the farmer who growing that crop of food or that wheat to make the bread or that or growing that tornado that we're gonna put in our salad, or having a growing having cattle to do salami, and juicing salami so we can have that submarine sandwich, and with all the trimmings on it. Well, what Doug Ford gonna do? Subway sub will say, well, we can't get this stuff anymore. But they got a million restaurants all the way up and down from Windsor all the way down to Toronto. We got big cities that we got no farm, we got no grain, got nothing. So but see, that what will happen if Doug Ford, did that, tried to build up farmland down on, and cities just grow and grow and grow. It's gonna be about every piece of farmland in this area of the province. You know what's gonna happen? There'll be no more. There won't be agriculture because why? Because two reasons. Number one, it's all condominium. Doug Ford. The only agriculture will go on is to be in Six Nations where it can't develop, or on any reservation. So people would want to go to escape from cities. They can't because the city everywhere. Here, you go down Highway 401, all big city. Always go through London, boom. Suburb of Toronto. You go through all that city, big, big, big. What happens? Who's blamed for it? That Doug Ford for you. What can happen? And that's where Doug Ford get realized. Number two is when Doug Ford dug his own condo, he didn't think about the people who renting apartments in the buildings that were torn down to make way for a condo. He didn't think of that. He just said, well, they can find other places. Well, a lot of them can't. A lot of them cannot get another place to live, and a lot of them were forced into tents. So you get a big homeless encampment issue. And you got crime. And these people got no address, no money income. They go into doing crime, get tricked into it by gangsters, the gangster here, gangsters. They trick them into doing crime. One of you got an intent to this. What about you go down to British Columbia, pick up an extra bag for me, and there's $1,000 they're waiting. Here's a 10,000, here's $1,000,000. Here's 20. A rural person on tent dweller here now, fly down to Columbia, Central America. He go get this bag, come back to the airport. He get pulled over by El Dorado police, El Dorado Airport. Well, yeah, in Brigatower, that's the international airport down there. They get pulled over by the cops, and they're called the local police force. He had taken into a room, ran through a body scan, found it. They took his luggage, opened it up, they drilled holes, and they found crack cocaine. They have found 200 pounds of crack cocaine, unknown. And what do you think then what happened to that individual? Well, the individual went for a magistrate, of course. Canadian government sit back and Doug Ford, that's his fault. That's his fault. He drinks another cup of coffee, of course. And what happens? He ends up in jail, and he get killed down there. And you know what? Nobody gets a damn. See, and it's happened to other people living in tents too in the city. Well, it is pretty awful pretty damn awful when people have to resort to crime to survive, you know. And on top of that, it's just, real bad. The money ain't, nobody getting any money. And I doubt, I know what? When it comes down to people living in public housing, seniors living in housing, they're always going to be last. Doug Ford say $200, they're going to be last to get it. And I can see that coming. I will probably be the last one to get it on the list. Like almost people public housing to get it, but if I can get it, like it'll be last on the list to get it. So yeah, working great and all that. You got a job. You know what? How can they pay you rent when the rent goes up? You might make $400 minimum wage or $600 minimum wage, and all of a sudden the rent goes up to $1,000. What happened? There ends up in a tent. Sorry, you are in a tent. What happened? First year university students coming into McMaster campus, they are trying to get through. And they're learning, and the guys are learning about how to become a biologist and stuff like that, how to be a geneticist and stuff, to become that. You know what I'm talking about? And then the guy that's so after me, he's learning that trade in school right now. But when he gets out, he will probably have a good job, but the apartment rent go up. That means he can't afford it. He's going to be pushed into a situation where he might end up in a tent, all because Doug Ford building condos that people can't afford. I can't even afford it. I'm living. This is not a condo. This is an apartment. And know something? Sometimes I can't afford to buy groceries because the damn gluten expensive. you know. And it took away, if you living in public housing in Hamilton, you don't get the trillium benefit. Wow. If I lived in a market rent bill and pay $1 million rent, yeah, I get the trillium, but you don't get it. And that's another awful thing about that too. That take away Doug Ford. So that's another reason why I won't vote. So I'm just urging everybody out in YouTube land who's gonna watch this video and see it. I'm gonna say one thing: do not vote Doug Ford on a ballot. Vote for NDP or vote Bobby Crombie, vote Mr. Crombie. At least when Bobby Crombie comes in and takes that comfy seat, he's gonna turn around and set it all straight, and Bobby Crombie gonna stop the crime. The biggest criminal is Doug Ford. I know who's going to come to rescue Bobby Crombie if he wins the election, or it could be NDP. Oh, NDP wins the election, and let's put Doug Ford out of business. Time he gets spent in cease of detention or sacks after books. That's all there is to it. Doug Ford, jail. Blog over.